Have you ever heard of haunted airports? These bustling hubs connect people from all over the world, but hidden within their walls, there might be secrets that are far more unsettling than we can imagine. Today's story takes us to Tokyo's Narita International Airport, where an Australian couple encountered something they'll never forget. Before Narita Airport was built, this land was once an ancient burial ground. Local legends tell of a cursed woman who was buried here, a woman who had suffered greatly in life due to a lost love. Even in death, her spirit could not find peace, and it is said that her ghost roams the area, seeking out those who share a tragic fate. When the airport was constructed, this woman's grave was accidentally unearthed. The workers, unaware of the land's dark history, carelessly displaced her remains. Since then, the stairwell has been considered cursed. On certain nights, her spirit is said to wander the stairwell, searching for her next victim. Those unfortunate enough to encounter her are said to be haunted by her vengeful spirit, experiencing an unexplainable terror. Jack and Emily, a couple from Australia, were passionate travelers. In the fall of 2023, they decided to spend a long vacation in Tokyo, Japan. The vibrant streets of Tokyo, serene shrines, and the majestic Mount Fuji were all on their itinerary. But little did they know that their journey would start with a terrifying experience that would leave a mark on them forever. Their flight landed smoothly at Tokyo's Narita International Airport. As they waited to collect their luggage, an unexpected announcement came over the PA system. For some unexplained reason, their flight's luggage pickup area had been changed. They were instructed to go to a secluded part of the airport, accessed through a back staircase. While this seemed a bit unusual, they decided to follow the directions. The couple followed the signs, leading them into a quiet, dimly lit corridor. There were no other passengers around, no bustling airport staff, just the eerie glow of the lights reflecting off the polished floor. "This feels a bit off," Emily whispered, clutching Jack's hand. "Yeah, it doesn't look like a place meant for passengers," Jack replied, frowning but continuing down the corridor. They reached an unremarkable iron door, marked by a handwritten sign that read, "Back staircase, baggage collection." Pushing open the door, they were met with a narrow, steep staircase. The walls were peeling, the place reeked of dampness, and a faint musty odor filled the air. As they descended the stairs, the atmosphere grew heavier. The lights flickered erratically, casting fleeting shadows that seemed to move on their own. The air felt thick and cold, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the airport terminal above. Each step on the metal stairs produced an unnerving creak that echoed through the narrow stairwell, amplifying their growing sense of dread. "Is it just me, or is it getting colder?" Emily shivered, feeling a chill that seemed to seep into her bones. "It's definitely strange. Let's grab our bags quickly and get out of here," Jack said, trying to keep his voice steady. Suddenly, Emily stopped in her tracks, her hand gripping Jack's arm tightly. "Did you hear that?" Jack listened intently. Yes, there it was, a faint sound of footsteps, echoing from the depths of the staircase. The problem was, they were the only ones there. "This feels a bit off," Emily whispered, clutching Jack's hand. "Yeah, it doesn't look like a place meant for passengers," Jack replied, frowning but continuing down the corridor. They reached an unremarkable iron door, marked by a handwritten sign that read, "Back staircase, baggage collection." Pushing open the door, they were met with a narrow, steep staircase. The walls were peeling, the place reeked of dampness, and a faint musty odor filled the air. As they descended the stairs, the atmosphere grew heavier. The lights flickered erratically, casting fleeting shadows that seemed to move on their own. The air felt thick and cold, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the airport terminal above. Each step on the metal stairs produced an unnerving creak that echoed through the narrow stairwell, amplifying their growing sense of dread. "Is it just me, or is it getting colder?" Emily shivered, feeling a chill that seemed to seep into her bones. "It's definitely strange. "Let's grab our bags quickly and get out of here," Jack said, trying to keep his voice steady. Suddenly, Emily stopped in her tracks, her hand gripping Jack's arm tightly. "Did you hear that?" Jack listened intently. Yes, there it was, a faint sound of footsteps, echoing from the depths of the staircase. The problem was, they were the only ones there. As they continued descending, the footsteps persisted, growing louder with each step, as if something unseen was following them, mimicking their movements. The further they went, the clearer the sound became, and the closer it seemed. "Jack, I've got a bad feeling about this." Emily's voice trembled with fear. Then, without warning, the lights flickered again. But this time they went out completely, plunging the stairwell into total darkness. Emily let out a frightened gasp. Clutching Jack's hand even tighter, they stood frozen, too terrified to move. "Hold on. I'll use my phone's flashlight," Jack said, his voice barely a whisper. He pulled out his phone and switched on the light. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the stairwell, but when it reached the bottom, both of them gasped in horror. At the base of the stairs stood a shadowy figure, facing away from them. The figure was completely still, like a statue. But what was most chilling was its appearance, clothed in tattered garments that seemed to belong to a bygone era, and faint traces of something dark, possibly blood, stained the fabric. "Let's get out of here now." Emily's voice was barely controlled panic. Without a word, Jack turned, and they began to hurry back up the stairs. But as they did, the footsteps behind them started again, this time faster, heavier, as if the figure was chasing them. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, and Jack's grip on her hand tightened as they quickened their pace. As they scrambled up the stairs, Emily's mind flashed back to something she had read online just days before their trip. It was an article about haunted places in Tokyo, and one of the stories mentioned an old legend about a ghostly figure seen in the stairwells of Narita Airport. She hadn't thought much of it at the time, dismissing it as just another urban legend. But now, with the heavy footsteps echoing behind them, she couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled into something far more sinister. "Jack, do you remember that article I told you about? The one with the haunted stairwell?" Emily gasped, struggling to catch her breath as they reached the top of the stairs. Jack nodded, his face pale. "Yeah, but I thought it was just a story. This feels too real." Just as they were about to reach the door leading back to the corridor, the footsteps suddenly stopped. The abrupt silence was almost more terrifying than the noise itself. They stood there, panting, afraid to look back. "Do you think it's gone?" Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't know, but I'm not taking any chances," Jack replied, his hand trembling as he reached for the door handle. They pushed through the door and rushed into the corridor. But their relief was short-lived. The corridor, which had seemed dim and eerie before, now felt like a lifeline to safety. But even as they hurried towards the baggage collection room, the memory of those footsteps and that shadowy figure clung to them, a lingering sense of dread that refused to dissipate. Back in the main terminal, surrounded by the comforting noise of travelers and the bright airport lights, Jack and Emily retrieved their luggage. But something had changed. The fear from the stairwell seemed to have followed them, like a dark cloud, hanging over their heads. Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time she glanced over her shoulder, she half expected to see that shadowy figure standing there, just out of the corner of her eye. She knew it was irrational, but the fear was too real, too palpable to ignore. Jack tried to stay calm for Emily's sake, but he couldn't stop his hands from shaking. The memory of those footsteps, of that cold, damp air, played over and over in his mind. He couldn't help but wonder if they had really escaped whatever it was that had followed them up the stairs. Even after they left the airport and checked into their hotel, the sense of unease persisted. Every shadow in their room seemed darker, every creak of the floorboards louder. That night, Emily dreamt of the stairwell, of the shadowy figure that had chased them, and she woke up with a start, her heart racing. only to find Jack sitting up beside her, his face pale and drawn. "I can't stop thinking about it," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "What if it wasn't just our imagination? What if we brought something back with us?" Emily shuddered at the thought, but she didn't have an answer. All she knew was that the fear they had felt in that stairwell had followed them, seeping into their thoughts, their dreams, their very sense of safety. Over the next few days, they tried to enjoy their trip, but the memory of that night hung over them like a dark cloud. Every time they passed by a staircase, Emily would feel a pang of anxiety, and Jack would find himself glancing back, just to make sure nothing was following them. They never spoke of it again, but the experience left a scar on their minds, a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary places can hide the most extraordinary horrors. Jack and Emily never mentioned that night to anyone. Whenever someone asked about their trip to Tokyo, they would carefully avoid discussing what happened at the airport. This story serves as a reminder. Sometimes, it's not just beautiful sights we encounter on our journeys. Occasionally, we stumble upon things that defy explanation, lurking in places where we least expect them. Have you ever encountered something unexplainable during your travels? Do you believe in these haunted tales? Feel free to share your story in the comments, and let's explore the mysterious and terrifying phenomena that exist in our world together. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more spine-chilling tales. Thank you for watching.